we've got well, okay, start again. When Menendez landed in St. Augustine, Menendez was the first explorer, the first Spanish explorer to land in St. Augustine. When he landed, he found a tribe of Indians in St. Augustine. The Indians that were there, the natives that were there at that time, their females were between 7 and 8 feet tall. Their
Wow.
males were between 8 and 9 feet tall. This is documented. They have the skeletal remains of this tribe.
Wow.
The tribe
Okay.
was wiped out by smallpox. So we do have, even in what we would consider modern Western history here, we have accounts of tribes that were of a height that we can't really imagine. We see it as a deformity when there's, when somebody grows to almost 8 feet in height. It does happen. They do exist,
Well, yeah.
but we look at it as a deformity.
Right.
But again, when
That was
Menendez
landed, actually an entire race of humans, though, the giants.
Correct. Correct. Well, again, you're going biblical times. Look at Goliath.
Yeah.
I mean,
he came from a family of giants. He had like 3 other brothers that were bigger than him, apparently.
Yep. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the race. God, there was they
Nephilim?
came from no, it's not the Nephilim.
God,
was it
The
God?
Rephaim?
No. I think
Anakim.
the land that Goliath came from wasn't it like Gog, G-O-G? I'm trying to remember where he was from.
like Gog and Magog.
That's the
No,
name
like
of
Gog as in
something else.
G-O-G. I know there was a name to it. And his race of people were known to be giants. But they also were said to have been descendants of the Nephilim. So, in other words, they were a race that they were humans that bred with angels that were incredibly tall. And that was the legend of Goliath. Goliath's tribe came from that. Was it Nod? Maybe it was the land of Nod. Trying to remember where
That's
Goliath
it,
came
Nod.
from.
Or Nog.
Yep. Yes.
Like
It was a very innocuous name, but that's where his tribe was from. So again, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I
I'm
just
so
wonder
sorry.
what's the difference? Like you see this, you talk about the shadow, like the shadow beings.
I'm
like
gonna,
there's
guys,
little
give me a
ones.
minute. I'm gonna try to hook into my. I'm gonna try to mic up here into my headphones so you guys it cuts out some of the background.
Yeah, I'm having such a hard time understanding with all those background
I'm
conversations
so
cutting you
sorry.
up. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, sir. I'm just glad I can hear this.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It
can
was
hear
from
you now.
Gath.
Yeah, I can hear you.
It was from Gath. Okay, it was from Goliath came from Gath. That's right. I mean, I knew it was a name that began with G. And I knew that his race of people were considered to be giants. And there was no two ways about that. He was a Philistine. Yeah.
There's somebody else.
And he came from Gath.
Who is that?
He probably doesn't know me. Sorry. Oh, actually, that's Vicky. Vicky, Vicky this summer in Austin. Hello.
Hey.
And let me tell you, when it comes to anything biblical, Vicky is like my Bible analyst. Like I can just ask her, she's gonna know the answer off the top of her head. Believe me on that one.
So now when you talk about shadow people, though, they're so different. Like there's the little people like you were talking about, which I had never seen them in the house we lived in, but I saw the top hat man, and then like I said, Austin saw the little tadpole things, which all of those felt very evil to us.
Well, again, though, I'm sorry, I'm saying goodbye to them as they leave. Bye, guys. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Is it though, or is it just us misidentifying? Because it invokes fear. You can't identify something. Your first response reaction, especially to darkness. As
Well,
humans, we have this
I don't know, because
instinctive, like,
no, I'm not like that. I feel like I don't know. I'm not freaked out by a lot. I'm just not. So when I saw the Top Hat Man, I could just kind of feel it. It was very strong. But there's other things I've had happen where I don't, some people are freaked out by anything, but I'm not. So that's what, I think sometimes you could kind of feel it, like you could feel if it's a good energy or bad.
oh
So
yeah, I will. But that's to me that a
yeah,
lot of times is that's a human trait. Like I
right,
said, with the guy
yeah,
in this house, the guy up on the higher floor, he was a jerk in life. And
yeah,
I can tell you that just going into that environment, you could feel it. This
right,
was a human. This person was a jerk in life, and he's a jerk in death, and
well,
he
they do,
enjoys being a jerk.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, and
he
they go through the
feeds
they
off
go
of it.
will follow fear, so you know what that's like.
Exactly. Well,
They're scared
it's
to do that.
more fear empowers them, and that's
Right.
what people don't understand. When you feed fear into your environment, you're giving it's like cocaine to them.
Right.
You're amping them.
It's their
The,
food.
the funny thing
Yes.
about the Top Hat Man I saw was very quick too, so I really didn't have time to be scared of him. It was after I saw him that I was like, that really felt pretty bad. But I just saw him so quickly. Um, he was outside in the light. I could see him real well. And then he was just gone. So I didn't really have time to be like, oh, so he could feed off of it. It was like he didn't want to stay around. So he just left. It was weird.
Maybe he was just as scared as we were because he accidentally stepped out of his dimension somehow or another. We don't really know for sure.
Yeah. But our neighbors had there was some weird things happened there. They actually, when I saw him, they were building the house, and he was out around the foundation. But they said that they dug a well. They were trying to dig a well because we lived out in the country, didn't have a water line. And the people, the guys that were working on that house said they had problems with everything in that house. And the weird thing is, like, living in the country, you see animals running down the road. We lived on this old back road. None of the dogs or stray dogs, cats, or bunnies or anything would go over in that yard. I mean, I actually saw like stray dogs just go down the road and then they'd go through the field beside it, but they wouldn't go in the yard, which is weird. Or they come into our yard, So I'm like, there's something off about that whole area, the
I think
house
the
where they
place was cursed.
Well, I was just gonna say, if there was, I mean, again, you have certain areas like even here with our native tribes, there are certain areas that you don't go to. And there were restricted sacred sites to some of these tribes. You don't go there. Why? It's not that it's cursed, it's that it's protected.
Well, see,
And
that's funny you
There's
say that.
also that, yeah.
Because Austin did a lot of research about that area, and there were Indians in that area.
yep.
So he maybe thought it was something like that.
Yeah, because they tend to protect their sacred sites, and believe it or not, there's a lot of strength to elemental energy and elemental magic, and that is exactly what the Native Americans utilize: elemental energy and elemental magic. They use nature in their ceremonies. And I don't think you can get a much more powerful form of protection than what they use. Now, again, people misinterpret a lot of it and make the assumption that they were good or they were evil. No, the Indians used a neutral platform. The Native Americans, their magic was neutral. And I always say that. I'm like, a Wendigo is not an evil creature. A Wendigo is a neutral. It's a neutral elemental. What determines how it's going to act is what you do. So if you go into a Native American area and you disrespect that area, that Wendigo is not going to be friendly to you at all. You
Right.
do so in graciousness and respect, and let that be a lesson. They figured that out. You graciousness and respect, the Wendigo's not going to bother you. You go
Right.
in there trying to prove something in arrogance, you're not going to fare very well coming out the backside of it.
Yeah.
It's just pretty simple. So I mean, it's like I said, I have a real strong and deep respect for natives and beasts in their ancient antiquity. Now,
Yeah.
once this area was explored and settled by Western civilization, we saw a lot of changes. Like I do know a Blackfoot shaman who's incredibly traditional. Like his beliefs extend back to the ancient ways before Western civilization actually kind of overrode what they believed. I mean, there was Christianity. People forget the Jesuits like forced their belief systems to integrate with the native belief system. And we got people say hi to cameras. But basically, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge thing, and it destroyed a lot because their beliefs got completely delineated. Oh my God, these people are having a blast with the camera. It's so funny.
Might
Sorry,
get
that
us
was
a lot
just
more viewers.
but it's funny as heck because they realized that they were actually on camera. But yeah, I mean, again, these are things that unless it's taught, people don't realize what some of this stuff is based on, and then they go off superstitions. And yeah, you know what?
And I don't even think Jesus. I don't even think Jesus would have wanted. He would have wanted his followers to do that.
Did somebody make a
That's
comment something about crawlers? Just popped up on my screen.
Huh?
oh, that's
Some-
somebody that was Vicky. She dropped something in the chat. I couldn't
Okay.
quite see what it was.
Yeah,
before it disappeared.
something about 20-foot tall crawlers crawling up mountains. That was kind of what I was talking about, but the ones I saw were shorter.
Usually they're small. I mean, but I don't always know. Yeah.
I was
They're
gonna
part of
say
the cryptids. They're part of the cryptids.
people are waving to the cameras. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's again, it's
Did you know what
actually,
they're
I
saying
wish
though?
I had Jack here right now because if anybody, if you want to talk, if 20-foot crawlers are cryptids, Jack is like the
Oh.
thesaurus on cryptids.
But you know what's so true about the fear, because when I was talking to you about Peabody Hall, there's such a fear on campus about staying there, and it's mostly the men, like, because it was Miss Peabody that doesn't like them, and I guess she haunts them. And it's a mixed dorm now, and she doesn't like that.
Well, it's funny because even
So she
here
goes
at
after
the
guys over there.
well, at the May Stringer house, it's women who are afraid because the guy on the top floor tends to target women.
So that's
And
what
it's
she
again,
does. She
yeah,
targets men. Because it was
yeah,
originally
he
a
targets
women's
women.
dorm, back in the
Yep.
day where they didn't have mixed dorms. So she's very
Well,
protective.
I think the legend behind this guy's death was that they believed he was involved in a very violent murder, and then got away with it because he was connected locally, politically, got away with it, and that he later died a very violent death himself. And now they think he's still living in that hole. But the murder he was involved in involved a fight over a woman. So thus they think his hatred of women. But
Okay.
I can tell you that I don't think a male here has ever been bothered. It's always been women. And like the 3 women I spoke with that had experiences, they were frightened. This was not people dramatizing. They were like legitimately frightened by what happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
sometimes I think that weakness in spirit, that fear going in, draws it to you. I mean, it's like a dog. They can sense dogs can sense when you're afraid. Cats can sense when you're afraid.